This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
So we're beginning the full day two, second day of this convention. And this is the first full day because yesterday, day one, really got started with the first lecture at 1 o'clock and went on late into the evening. And as we left off last night, as you remember from the close, we had given you a quick update. Ed Ripley and I were talking, and also a quick update on the show we had with... the John Sterlini Magic and Mayhem auction kind of a thing. And then there was Bill Gladwell, who, instead of doing mentalism, which he's known for, was doing Hypnosis Act, which he had done many years ago down in Gatlinburg. In fact, if you go back and listen to the podcast that I'd done with him and with Keith Fields many years ago, it was called Flim and Flam, and this would have been, oh golly, it's probably number 100 and something, so it was many years ago, 10 years ago. So anyhow, this morning I'm here with a couple of guys who are organizers from this convention and have been long associated with it. My good friend Mike Stratman. Hey there, Mike.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm glad that you're here, buddy. And also Roger Reeves. Hey, Roger.
Yeah, good morning, Scott.
And Roger, your position with the convention is what?
I'm in registration here.
Okay, you're the registration chairman.
I am. So no, and that's who I'd like to introduce you to.
Okay, who is this?
This is Jack Wilson.
Hey there, Jack.
Hello, how you doing?
And Jack's responsible for all this, and without him, nobody'd be in this convention. So.
And we are so thankful for you and all of you guys, because it's actually a ring activity. This is something that all of you guys kind of put together then each year, this being the 48th year after, I guess, a couple of years shutdown during COVID over there. But how long have you been doing this then, Jack?
About 13 years, I think.
Okay. Did you just move into the area about that time? Or?
No, I actually went to a ring meeting back in the 80s, and I was just starting graduate school, and I said, ooh, these guys are serious. That's going to be too much work. So I didn't join then. But several years later, I was in Gatlinburg, and one of the members had a magic shop, and I was talking to him. He said, oh, you should come to a ring meeting. And so I did, and just kind of got hooked.
And how about you then, Roger?
Well, Scotty, my claim to fame would be I'm the guy in charge of the Saturday night pizza party.
Oh, so you go corral the pizzas for everybody.
We've got like 100 pizzas that I'm responsible for, and of course, I want to make sure the cook doesn't call in sick and die. And we bring them all back, and we feed the guys and ladies, and they say their goodbyes and show their last card trick, and then we go home.
And that's been an ongoing tradition for years of the pizza party, right?
Yes, I started doing that in 2013. And
is this something that is done out of the benevolence of your heart, or is it something that's actually a club-sponsored activity that comes from the funds, or what?
Right, yeah, it's part of the club thing, and we were trying to come up with a way to do something. It was just, after the last show, it just kind of, what are you going to do? We used to have the dealer room open, but that was really hard on the dealers.
Right.
So John Hopper, one of our members, came up with a pizza party idea, and we cannot get rid of it now.
You're stuck with it, so to speak. Yeah. That's right. Speaking of registration, then, what are the numbers looking like right now?
Probably about the same as we had last year, and it was a little tentative last year because we were coming out of COVID, and we were concerned nobody would show up last year. So
we had about 150 or so last year. Is that right?
Around 200 probably. So? Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So. And also, Mike, I know that you've been working with the hotel, and tell us a little bit. I know that the hotel had changed because we used to use the Ramada, which was just right up the hill, or down the hill, I guess, from the Country Tonight Theater then as well. And because, the Dollywood started open, or what's the change?
Well, two things. First of all, the year of COVID, the Ramada had a chance to book another group. So they'd booked that group. We weren't going to come up here anyway, the year of COVID.
Yeah.
And so that group started getting in ahead of us where we couldn't book the whole Ramada. So I had to search out and look for another hotel, and I found one, so we split them up. But then the Ramada came back and said, well, we've still got 25 rooms, so we decided, well, we'll try to put the performers over in the Ramada because it's closer to the facility here. And so that's what happened. Now, I've talked to her earlier this week, trying to see if we can't lock in for next year for the whole group like we had before.
Fingers crossed. What's going on?
Yeah, and she hasn't responded back to me yet. But, I mean, we're not the only ones they book groups with is the problem. Mm-hmm. So if they can take us back, it'll be great. If not, I guess we'll try to stay at the same split we have. The thing is the hotel that I booked separate, they started doing a lot of remodeling work, so then we had to cut back on who we could put there.
Wow. Okay.
And I went over there this morning for the first time and just had breakfast to see how it was going. The people that are staying there seem to like it, but it's about a half a mile away, which is a little more inconvenient.
It's not really an easy walk necessarily, depending upon the weather.
Yeah.
Weather's been stellar here this weekend, by the way.
Yeah, so far we've lucked out.
We have lucked out. This hasn't been the true winter carnival that we've had in the past.
Well, yeah, in the past, and when we were up in Gatlinburg, when we had that heavy snow, Gatlinburg's going to get more snow than they do down here.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we had so much snow up there you couldn't hardly leave. But you got down to Knoxville and it wasn't even on the ground.
Yeah,
so,
it
was just a case of getting out. So we're a little lower in elevation here, which helps some.
Jack, another question I had as far as actually a compliment, I guess, and that is the swag bag. I mean, the goodies that everybody's getting. Tell us a little about. I mean, this is not something that every convention gives out.
Right, and we struggle with it every year, trying to do something different.
You do something every year, yeah.
And
cool.
then we came up with the propylene. I wouldn't call them. They're kind of the quality that you would get if you're going to the grocery store and one of those bags that you buy for all the time, like Aldi's or something. And so we got our logo on there, and it's our theme color of blue, and they look really good.
Yeah, so it's a bag that you can reuse or use at the grocery store or whatever.
Absolutely,
it's a reusable bag. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And so I hadn't seen that at any of the other conventions, so that's pretty good.
But this year, tell us what the stuff they've got in there.
Oh yeah, so we've got some really nice notepad. But the biggest thing is that Jim Stott, who has done a lot of magic kits over the years, donated pretty much for every registrant a magic kit. Mm-hmm. And if you go on Amazon, it's like a $30, $40 kit.
Yeah.
And so that's quite a deal. And we were very grateful.
And they were different. I mean, there was a money magic kit, and there was a street magic.
Yes, card, I think. And so, luck of the draw, or if you didn't like the one you get, you could trade with somebody else.
Trade with a friend over there, yeah.
But, they've been very popular.
Well, that's a nice thing, then, again, about this convention, because of the size of this, that it is very communal, familial, I guess, where a lot of people come back, year after year. I think this is my fourth or fifth convention here, and I love it. And a lot of people who are not here, I know, have read their posts on Facebook and saying, man, I wish I could be there. It's one of my favorite conventions or whatever. So
yeah, it's the same people, every year. Yeah. And I've talked to several people who go, well, I'll go to maybe one convention. It's going to be yours.
And Roger, we were talking about this being the first full day, but we had quite a few things happen yesterday. What so far has happened that's been one of your favorite? Now, you've been kind of behind the desk, but from what you've seen, what have you enjoyed so far?
Well, just being here, that's, to me, handing out these badges, and I don't get a chance to see many of the seminars and the contests, but that's okay. It's a club thing, and if you can't donate your time, you shouldn't be in the club. You should be, and that's my thing, being here with the camaraderie, working with Jack and Bill and the rest of the crew. This is what we do, and we love it. Yeah. But Scott, is really funny. The next register walked up. I told him, I said, that's Scott Wells, and he's doing a live podcast for the Magic Word. He said, that's the reason why I came to see Scott Wells. So
hello, Brody, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Buddy August.
Buddy August, brother, shake your hand. Thank you very much. I'm glad you listened. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming. Glad that you're here then, too. So you weren't here yesterday. You haven't seen any of the activities so far. You got a lot of...
Came in late yesterday. I'm a competitor. I travel around competing, and I looked at your list. I called up everybody, find out who had competitions, and I'm here.
Well, there we are. Well, good luck with that. Are you in the stage or the close-up?
Open mic.
Open mic, and that's this afternoon? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Good luck. We'll find out, I guess, then later how that goes. Very good. Mike, what have you enjoyed so far at the convention?
Well, just being here and meeting the people that come back every year. I mean, we have such a great group that just comes every year, and it's always good to see them. And as far as seeing a lot of what goes on, I don't get into a lot of the programs in there.
You're kind of walking around and solving problems, aren't you?
Right, yeah. We have. There's always something, and a lot of questions some people have, and we'll try to answer those.
Yeah.
And, And I'll sneak in and try to catch a few of the acts. And like the close-up this morning, I thought it was one of the better close-up contests we've had in the last few years. So that was very good to see that. So.
Yeah. Roger?
Yeah, Scott, one of the things I wanted to point out, and this is kind of neat, we've got these stick-on ribbons, and one says first-timer and one says old-timer. And the people that have come here year after year, if you don't give them an old-timer ribbon for their registration badge, they get offended. So that's something that we started, and it's kind of a cute little gimmick. But that's it, old-timer and first-timer.
That's a good idea. I like Jack. Also, what about you? I haven't asked you about what you've enjoyed so far seeing, or have you been kind of stuck back here too?
Yeah, I did get a chance to catch Bill Gladwell's hypnosis show last night.
Yeah.
Which was very good.
Very funny.
Very funny. And, of course, it's depends on the crowd as much as anything. We had some really good contestants last night participating. So, yeah, that was very fun. I saw a little of his lecture just now, too. So.
Well, we had good lectures, I think, then yesterday. I really enjoyed John Armstrong's lecture yesterday. David Ginn did a great job. Everybody who was involved in doing this. Bob Hummer had some really excellent ideas, some card things, and was talking to Don Weiberg, and he was saying, I'm going to do this or that. I mean, it was some good stuff that was all inside there. So, anyhow, a lot of activity still yet planned for the day and for the evening, and the weather is still beautiful for those of you who are listening to this and didn't heed my suggestion to come on down, unlike Buddy, who did listen, and he came in for the day to compete. I hope that anyone else who's listening then today, we got one more day left, and you can come in on Saturday and enjoy the convention, because one-day registrations are available for how much?
Yes, I believe $109 for a magician.
For one day. There you go.
You get access to the dealer room and the Friday night or Saturday night show if you come tomorrow.
Yeah, for tomorrow. And it's going to be just a lot of lectures and everything else. It's a full-packed day for tomorrow, too. So think about that. So, with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Roger Reeves, that was Mike Stratman, and also Jack Wilson. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. This is Scotty out. Moving from the registration desk over into the dealer's room, because all of this is all just in one place. And right now we have the whole Country Tonight Theater, which includes the lobby and everything. And, of course, the dealers are in the lobby. All activities, including close-up stage and lectures, are all in the theater. So it's really great keeping it all together like that. And speaking of keeping it all together, here's a guy who really does have it all together, and that is Anthony Gerard. Hey there, Anthony. How are you?
Real good, though my wife might disagree with you on that last comment, but thank you very much for your observation.
Having it all together. Well, Tony, you are all over the place, though. I mean, it seems like whenever I see you then in Colon, you have it together under this tent, even though the wind's blowing or the rain is raining or it's cold or whatever it is. I mean, you're out there in all the elements, dealing.
Yep, magic rain nor shine.
Magic rain nor shine.
And living in Michigan, we get all of it. And if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It's going to change.
Now, you lecture, I know, and have a lot of original stuff, and I see it factors every year then as well. What's new? What have you got? What have you been working on, particularly during COVID? You had a couple of years to develop new stuff. So
actually, I got a brand new piece that I was going to have here.
Yeah.
But because I was here the last 2 years and I like switching dealers, I told I couldn't get a booth this year. Oh. There was a cancellation, and they gave me a call and said, "Are you still interested?"
Last minute, yeah.
I said, "Well, heck yes," because I just did a lecture day before yesterday in Gray, Tennessee.
Okay.
You'll like this. My lecture started at 7:30 and ended at 3:45 in the morning.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Who are you, Harry Lorraine?
No, it's not my longest lecture. My longest one, I offered my Magic Behind Bars lecture as either a standard lecture or the marathon lecture.
Okay.
Paris and Marseille opted for the marathon lecture. I started talking at 6:30 in the afternoon. I stopped at 5:30 in the morning, and not one person left.
11 hours.
11 hours.
That's
straight.
Not bad. Neither one of the two people who were in attendance left.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't leave. I stayed there.
Yeah.
But it's a great convention. But I like doing the conventions. I love lecturing.
Yeah.
But the conventions are great. But I do have a brand new item that it's a variation on Arnold First's Fresh Fish Sold Here Today. I was going to have it here, but when they told me I didn't have a booth, I put it on the back burner for a couple weeks. But basically the effect is you walk out carrying like a plastic bag from a bookstore. You say, "I just bought a new book. Have you read it?" You pull out Webster's Dictionary. You say, "It has everything in it." You open up to a bookmark, it's the word everything, and you give a definition.
Funny.
You do it with a couple other goofy words, and finally you get to like the word impossible. And you say, that's an interesting word, that which can't be done. But that which couldn't be done yesterday is commonplace today. So the definition doesn't really fit the word. Now you pull the bookmark out. Now the bookmark is about 22 inches long, and it has the word impossible on it.
Yeah.
The pattern goes along the lines of, I read that one of the ancient Greek philosophers once wrote that the word impossible can be found in 2 places. First tear. Second tear is in a dictionary, and the third tear in the mind of a fool. Well, I'm no fool. Don't ask my wife. She would disagree. But I am a magician, and with magic, everything is possible. Now you unfold it. It's restored, but now instead of impossible, it's the word possible.
Possible.
So
I like
I'll have that at 4 up this year, too.
Yeah. Wow. with the book and everything.
But I also wrote a new book, but it's not on magic.
Is that the card attack?
No, it's on a facet of my life. Several months ago, I had my 60th, that's 60, brush with death. Now, actually, one time I died in a car accident. A drunk driver hit me. 4 times somebody tried to murder me. Most people go, oh, yeah, I understand that. But it was 4 different people.
Holy moly.
4 times within 20 feet of a lightning strike. And looking up at the sky, you might not be safe standing where you're at right now. 11
Anywhere around you, it sounds like I wouldn't be safe.
11 tornado encounters, but only 3 or 4 of those I considered life-threatening. But I called the book Cheating the Reaper. And it's got chronicles my 60 brushes with death. So that's my newest book.
Well, that's why your hair is white, because if you got it struck and you're only 30 years old.
So. No, 28.
Okay.
No, 28,
don't push it.
And then 28, and then 28. Yeah. I actually got my birthday coming up December. I'll be turning the big 70s. So.
There you go. Well, it's not bad on this side. I'm 71, so.
Just as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, it's a good day. And
that's what I'm trying to do.
And how old were you, did you say?
71.
71?
Yep, be 72 in November.
Just so long as I don't catch up with you, you're having a good day.
Exactly. I hope you never do.
Exactly.
So, as a dealer, you haven't seen everything, but they have shut down the dealers a little bit from time to time. What have you seen so far as any of the, like a show last night or lectures? Or?
I didn't get to the shows, after I finished my lecture, talking for 9 hours.
Yeah.
I got a little bit burnt out. So,
I was going to say, you talk a lot, I know.
Somebody said I was vaccinated by a phonograph needle. Now, most of the young guys won't understand that one, but the old guys go, yeah. That's actually a Julius Groucho Marx slang.
Okay.
But I'll borrow it. Mostly I've just been doing my thing. When I'm done, I go to the lobbies, I session, I teach. When people buy my items, it's an opportunity for them to get a loan and sit down, and I give them some more tips and ideas and suggestions.
Because you're always there for them, as far as being accessible by email or if you want
or stopping into the shop. However, the shop's actually going to be closing in about a year and a half. Next year, it's 50 years since I had the brick and mortar shop open. We're going to be closing in about a year and a half and focusing on doing some more fun things, also doing more lectures, more shows.
You're going to close it or sell it to somebody?
No, going to close it. It's not a type of business.
Your son's not interested in it?
No, they've got their own directions that they went into. But it did allow me to do a new item, and this is something that some of your readers might enjoy. One of my bucket list items, I am visiting the oldest bar in every state in the U.S. and having a local beer there.
That is great. You just inspired me to do something.
It has been a blast. Now, Alaska is going to be a fun one. The claim to fame for the oldest bar in Alaska, they claim to be the world's only brothel-themed pizzeria bar.
That's quite a combination.
I
so what are you going in for?
I'm actually going to spend a couple nights there.
Boom, boom. Yeah. Well,
and the menu doesn't open this way. The menu actually opens trifold downward.
Downward.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see the menu.
Okay.
That's a Playboy.
Yeah. That's right.
But yeah,
got
it's
an insert there.
In fact, at the oldest bar in Nashville, I'm talking to the bartender, and a gypsy, his wife, and their wolf come walking into the bar. It sounds like the beginning of a joke, but no. A gypsy, his wife, and their wolf. And I'm like, that's a wolf. And he goes, yeah? Well, yeah, everybody walks into a bar with a wolf. Yeah. So it's been an interesting experience.
No, actually, it's my wife. This is
I'm going to let that one go.
Well, Tony, good seeing you. Congratulations again on nearly 50 years with that. And also happy birthday coming up as well. Look forward to seeing you at Fechter's. It's been, speaking of 50, we're going to be the 50th. We're finally celebrating. They kept postponing it. So this will be fun.
And I'll be there with my dealer booth and with my new Impossible.
With Impossible. So good luck with that.
I think that's going to be a good one, because great for motivational speakers, for MCs, or just for like an opening piece for a magic show. And it has a little bit of a little bit of a message that can be added to it. So I think it's going to be...
You put as much comedy in there as you want with reading the words and whatever. So.
Yeah, I throw in a bunch of extra words, like debooty. No, not that kind, Scott. Debooty is something that a pirate finds.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they both would fit. It's something valuable. But it's I throw in about, I think, 8 or 10 different words.
Yeah.
If I do it, it's going to be 3 or 4. But if somebody wants to have a longer effect, they have a longer effect.
Good.
But it's good seeing you. Maybe we'll get together for a chat later.
We will. Thanks, Tony, very much. Appreciate it. Good luck with the booth. And so for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Anthony Gerard. This is Scotty out. All right, still in the dealer's room right now, and one of the people who is, I've said this before on many occasions, it's one of my favorite magicians, definitely in the top 5, is Jonathan Neal. I'm always so pleased to get to spend some time with you, Jonathan. Neal right here. Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
Thank you. Everything is great.
Good.
Great to see you, Scott.
And Leanne is here also, your wife. Hello, Leanne.
Hi.
And so you're behind the booth and working, and you've got a lot of really cool stuff. And you're going to be lecturing on the Wonder Box. Is that right?
Among other things, yes.
Among other things?
Yeah, some stage magic, some silk magic, and the Wonder Box. Yeah, classic magic.
And I have one of your parakeets. I haven't strung that in my Blaney cage yet, but I got one from Dan Summers, who had given me about how to string it. No, he just gave me the bird. He didn't give me the instructions.
The bird,
well, so
to speak.
Well, you know, Danny.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have to say the presentation that you do with the Vanishing Bird Cage and then taking off your jacket, it's like, wait a minute. That was, explain that. I mean, not explain it, but to the listeners, explain what I just said there.
Well, traditionally, when you do the Vanishing Bird Cage, you're stuck with it up your sleeve or wherever it goes.
Right.
And there have been ways over the years to get rid of it behind a nightclub table with a hook or something. But I thought, I wonder if I could come up with a method where you could just, in the act of removing the jacket, get rid of the cage at the same time, and you're left in your shirt and trousers. So I kind of thought I could work it out, and I did. To me, that gives me exactly everything I want out of the trick. I can set it up in front of the audience, I can do the vanish, I can end cleanly, and move on to the next trick.
You can do it in the middle of your act. You don't have to have it as an opener.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not an opener, it's not a closer, it's in the middle of the show.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think anyone could have done it.
Well, that's what Walter always said about his thing, too.
Yeah.
You know, he always said, I'm never going to tell anybody this. It's my secret. I'm going to the grave with it, and he did.
Yeah.
But he was saying that if anybody knew it's just a 25-cent piece of whatever that you need to do with the necessary equipment, he said, but I just thought of it. He said, why didn't anybody else? I'm sure it's the same way with you. So I'm like, well, this is obvious. But
it seemed that way to me.
Yeah.
There were little details to finesse, but it wasn't rocket science.
Yeah. No, I think that the beauty of that is very elegant and simplistic in what appears to be the design. I mean, you put it on, take it off, and wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm going to be using it next week. I'm going to be working the parlor early, and so I'm going to open with the bird cage.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You going to be there next week? You going back? Or?
No, we work at Marvin's for Jeff Hobson next week.
Okay.
We're at I'm at the castle the following week with John Carney and the Peller.
Okay. Just miss you.
Just miss it. Unfortunate.
Sorry about that. Well, I was just asking Leanne, as you were saying that the snow has melted, I guess, so it's not the weather's not as bad as it was over in L.A. So.
I think it's bad this weekend, but we got a reprieve, and I think it'll be good when we get back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're getting tremendous rain this weekend.
Yeah. Going back to the Wonder Box just a moment, I recall many years ago at the castle, in fact, seeing, I believe it was John Wade doing that. Do you remember?
I worked a week with John Wade.
Okay.
Would have been around 1978 or 79.
He was just sitting on a stool, and he was doing this, and he had a great little thing. Yeah.
I don't remember him doing that. I think I would have, but maybe it was that week.
Okay. I may be confusing it with John, but I thought that it was him that had done that.
That's quite probable.
I'm scoring. What is the other fellow's name? Who collected the Cups and Balls posters in London, who died?
Yes, Bob Reed?
Bob Reed. Not Bob Reed. Bob Reed. Yeah. It could have been him. Is that possible? It could have been him?
I've never seen Bob Reed work.
Okay.
So he probably could have been him.
Because typically he would just have the bottle production, some other things in comedy and whatever, but I think it was John Wade who had done that. But anyhow.
All the English magicians all had a Demon Wonder Box.
Explain this for people who are particularly new magicians saying, what's the Demon Wonder Box?
Demon Wonder Box was a small, self-contained silk production. It was traditional trick of the 30s and 40s. It was invented in Germany by Janos Bartel, who sold the rights to Davenport. Davenport said, yeah, in actuality, most of them were made in Germany and then sent to England where they were marketed.
Yeah.
And it became a trick du jour around 1933. Every magician bought one because it looked impossible. The problem with the trick was it only produced 4 tiny handkerchiefs, about 15 inches each. It was no great production. It was a small production out of a very small chamber. And at the end, you stole off the gimmick and you could hand the box out for examination. For a trick for magicians to do to amuse themselves, it was brilliant. To use it in front of laymen, it was a big so what. You know, you could pull more handkerchiefs out of your sleeve than you could out of this box. So I used to sell them as a magic dealer in the 80s in Hollywood, and I wish I had bought one. So when I saw one online, I thought, eBay, I'll buy one and play around with it.
Yeah.
After about a month of playing around with it, I realized I had no use for it. It only produced 4 little hankies and wasn't a worker. Nothing I could do for real people and have them be impressed. So I said, I'm either going to sell this thing off or I'll give myself 30 days to come up with a routine. So I sat down for 30 days and thought, what can I do to make this better? So I decided I needed some kicker loads, some ways to build up the trick. I wasn't the first to come up with the idea of a kicker load, but I think I was the first one to make it more practical. Then I thought I need a big finale, and I thought, well, the biggest streamer silk I have was a Abbott's Duke Diversion streamer, which is 24 feet by a foot wide.
Right.
I said, my goal is to produce one of those out of these.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So I worked that out, too.
Wow. That's why I love you. You're so brilliant. Okay.
And I realized once you produce a certain number of silks, you could steal other silks behind the cover of silks and go anywhere you wanted. But that isn't what I wanted with this trick. I wanted every silk to appear to be coming out of the box itself. Otherwise, it's just an endless exercise. So everything appears to come out of the box.
Wow.
Even after being examined, I still produce more out of it. So that's where it's at. And then I decided, well, okay, what do I do with this information? I put the routine together, performed it at the Magic Castle, kind of in the parlor as a lark, to see what magic guys would say. They said, that's great. We haven't seen that ever done that way. So I knew I had a winner. So then I wrote it up as a manuscript so that guys could buy the manuscript. If they wanted to copy my routine verbatim, that was fine. If it was a launching pad for something else. I'm now at an age where I realize I'm going down the hill, not up the hill.
But you still look like you were when you were on Mike Douglas.
Well, thanks. I feel great, but I realize all the tricks that I've come up with in the intervening years need to be documented and either put into a book or sold as manuscripts for people who just want a one-off. So that's what I'm doing with all my magic eventually. Everything will be...
Have a legacy that way.
Yeah.
And leave it for someone else to build on.
Build on, exactly.
I like that thinking. Yep. That's very good. Speaking of Mike Douglas, what was the first network TV show that you were on?
First TV show was The Carson Show.
Okay. That's a good place to start.
It's a good place. I didn't want to be on the show. The talent coordinator for Carson buttonholed me and kept saying, you know, I want you on the show.
What was his name?
Jim McCauley.
McCauley, yeah.
So I did the show. Then he said, oh, we only gave you 3.5 or 4 minutes. He says, I'll have you back in a few weeks.
Because Johnny loved magic. And,
And I thought, yeah, sure. So nearly a year goes by, and I see him again at a comedy club, and he says, hey, where you been? I said, working. He goes, how come you haven't come back to the Carson Show? I said, oh, I didn't know if you wanted me. So he says, yeah, I definitely want you back. You know, let's set up another date.
Yeah.
So then by that point, I was now with my wife and partner, Leanne, and we had some new stuff, and we did that. Later on, he wanted me for a third appearance to do the egg bag, but I said, no. In those days, I thought I was an artist, and I wanted to do pure magic. I didn't want to do an egg bag with Johnny and somebody else. I wanted to do some artistic little thing. So I turned down the show, to my now regret, but at the time I thought it was a principled stand. So that was, anyway, the Carson episodes.
If you hadn't lived in Hollywood and you would have been any place else in the United States, that would have been saying, oh, yes, I'm in. But because you're kind of in and around showbiz all the time, it's like, no, I'm an artist.
Well, I thought I was an artist. I realized now I was just a kid who had big dreams. Later on, I can remember some routines I didn't get on the Carson show, and I thought, I'll submit to Merv Griffin. So I submitted a tape to Merv Griffin that I'd shot at the castle. And I got a polite rejection letter about a month later. Sorry, we don't think you're quite right for us. Okay, I'll take it.
Good enough for Johnny, but not for Merv.
Not good enough for Merv.
Yeah.
And I thought, the same as people would, at least I've been on the best.
Yeah.
No sooner than a couple of weeks later, a friend of mine calls me and says, hey, the talent coordinator for Merv Griffin wants to go to the Magic Castle. Can I put him on your guest list? I said, sure. He doesn't want to book me, but he can be my guest.
Yeah.
So I put him on the guest list, and it's a Sunday brunch, so he brings his kids. And I swear, the exact same act that I submitted on a tape. He comes up after the show and says, we can put you on Merv. He doesn't even remember that he's rejected me from Merv, which is the difference.
I wonder if he actually even saw the tape.
I wonder if he saw the tape, or is it the power of seeing video compared to the power of seeing magic done live?
Good point.
Lesson point
and
for
hearing
me.
the audience reaction, too.
Yeah.
It's like, they really loved you. Maybe their audience will, too. Yeah.
So, anyway, then we're on Merv.
Okay.
And from there on...
And several others then kind of took flight from there.
Yeah.
And then you're working cruise ships and working the world and everything.
Yeah.
And you're still continuing to be busy well into your 50s now.
I wish I were in my 50s.
That's what I said. You look still so young. You look great. I don't know what you do, man. Maybe I need to have that same look. I don't know how I get your look.
I don't know. I don't color my hair. This is really what it is.
You're a lucky guy.
But I haven't got much of it, but it's my color.
And it's all yours, too, which is nice.
Yeah, this is all me. I stopped doing. We decided we don't want to do cruising anymore. We stopped that in 2017.
Yeah, good timing.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, we were pre-pandemic on that. Have no interest in going back.
No. Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. Been everywhere.
Got the T-shirt.
Yeah. Now I just want to do magic events, have fun, enjoy myself.
So I kind of want to do more conventions. So perhaps other people who are organizers listening to this
they all
might
listen
want to think about
Scott Wells, don't they?
Right, they do.
Everyone listens to Scott Wells.
Listen to me. You should get Jonathan, man. I tell you, he's the best. When I say old school, I mean it is just as fresh as it was when you were doing it on Johnny Carson, and it's dynamic. I love the music. Yeah. It was, it's reminiscent kind of the '80s, kind of what was the
Vegas music?
Yeah,
Las Vegas energy.
Yeah, still high energy and everything. Highly recommend that. You need to consider getting Jonathan. And if they want to get in touch with you, how would they, by the way?
Go to our website, jneilshow.com.
That's Neal.
Neal, that's right. Or send me an email at jnwonderbiz@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And also on the website, they can see all the things you got, which are the new thing. Of course, we talk about the birdcage that you have. A very interesting parakeet, which is different than the one that Lupe made. Of course, hers is rubber and yours is actually...
These are foam covered in silk and then hand-painted. There's an awful lot of labor.
A lot of labor in that.
So they're kind of pricey. But if you have a birdcage, they're unbeatable.
Yeah.
The light's not going to kill them like latex.
That's true. But when you keep the thing moving all the time, from a few rows back, this looks even more realistic than the other one that Lupe has as well. But now you give me instructions on how to thread mine. Maybe I need to do that. So maybe I should. I wish you were there next week to help me with it. Maybe I should go and have Danny do this before I leave. Thank you, Jonathan, very much. Appreciate your time. Scott. Good luck over here, and
good luck with the podcast.
Thank you very much, and until next time. That was Leanne and Jonathan. Scotty out. So I'm here with David Corsaro right now. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
So you were not here until just this morning last night. I mean, I didn't see you yesterday.
Yeah, I got in pretty late last night. Gigs and shows around the New York, New Jersey area.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I got in. I got to have a great dinner with Steve Bargatze, who's always, the highlight of my time at a convention.
Everybody
anybody's
loves
time. That's
Who
exactly
doesn't
right.
love Steve Bargatze?
I don't know a single person.
Because his son is Nate. I mean, that's the only reason you love Steve.
Well, we're trying to get better seats the next time Nate comes into town.
If you kind of schmooze Steve, maybe that he has it in with Nate to get you moved up a little bit. Oh, there's Steve right now. That's it.
Not anymore.
Yeah, so I got in yesterday. This is my first time ever at the Winter Carnival. Seems like a great convention. Everyone's super nice, and it's a lot of fun.
And so you're going to be lecturing here in the next few minutes, and actually, so I'm catching you just before that. What kind of stuff are you going to be talking about?
So we're going to do a little bit of stuff on the business side of stuff, a little bit on the marketing piece. I'm going to teach the trick that I use to fool Penn and Teller.
Which is awesome.
Thank you. I'm going to teach my opener, which I use at Speakeasy Magic in New York City. I'm going to teach my closer at Monday Night Magic. So, the stuff I'm going to teach everybody hopefully is the real world stuff that's out there that's getting done, and hopefully they enjoy it.
when you had fooled Penateller and got the FU trophy, I remember when you were watching that, and I was thinking, I remember you lecturing about that at Fechter's many years, and I loved that. I made up the trick and did it myself, and so I knew what kind of to look for over there. And it's like, this is wonderful because it was so underground. So few of us actually knew about that. I love that trick.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. And,
all of your ideas are very practical, very commercial, and they take cards to a completely different level. I mean, they're really not card tricks particularly because you have writing on the cards, basically.
On so many of them, yeah. It's not necessarily you're finding a 6 of diamonds or a 10 of hearts, but you're finding something a little bit different, and hopefully people can connect to that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what set you apart then as well. Now, during COVID, you were very busy with Monday Night Magic and helping with the Zoom things, too.
Yeah, Monday Night Magic did a weekly Zoom show where we highlighted one magician each particular week, and I emceed all of those shows.
That was awesome. You did a great
And it was
job.
great. I mean, ironically, here at the convention, we had John Armstrong lecture yesterday, and John did a phenomenal Zoom show. Mm-hmm. I mean, so engaging, so entertaining. So I got to see a ton of great people and see some really great Zoom magic.
How many people attended typically one of the Zoom shows on Monday night?
We had audiences from 25 to 100 and something every single Monday.
Yeah.
So it varied. It really did.
And because it was Zoom, you were bringing people in from all over the world, too.
Yeah, which was really great, too. So people who have heard of Monday Night Magic, but obviously have never had a chance to see it, got to sort of see what our brand...
Right.
What our brand sort of stood for.
Now, who are the producers still? I assume since Jamie and Swiss had moved some time ago, he's not as involved as he was? Or?
He's still involved in some capacity. I mean, the core producers, you got Michael Chout, who's still the founding producer.
Right.
You still have Peter Samuelson, Todd Robbins, and Jamie Ian Swiss, who are involved. Okay. Todd is super heavy involved with Speakeasy Magic. He's the one who sort of runs that one as well. So his time is fairly
Which is
split.
where you are.
I've done Speakeasy Magic, I've done Monday Night Magic, and now I've got my own show in New York called Magic in a Bottle, which takes place at City Winery.
I'm not familiar with this, so tell me more about it.
So it started just after Fool Us. I did Fool Us. They reached out to me. They said they wanted to do something once a month involving magic. So we created a show there. It's like a dinner theater comedy club type show. It's me and 2 other magicians or 3 other magicians every single month. Mm-hmm. It's been a ton of fun. We started it last March. We've been extended through this August. So 16, 18 months.
A set show? It's not like walk around or bar magic?
No, well, there is a little bit of close-up magic that takes place before the show begins, typically done by Sean Dillon and Michael Goldman, who are 2 great close-up magicians.
To kind of warm up.
Yep. And then we've got a comedy club type show. It's straight on stage, really comedy club feel. So, we've had Harrison Greenbaum, Mark Calabrese, Jason Saran, Eric Diddleman, Marcus Monroe, Rachel Wax.
All the local people.
Everybody out there who I know can kill it and bring it to that stage has done so.
Great people out there.
It's been great. Mark Zaccaria and so many others have come up to that stage. Alex Boyce has done a great job. So, knock on wood, that's going real successful, too. If anyone's in the New York area, take a look at it, check it out.
So, whenever they approach you, they said, okay, this might work, and obviously it did, and so they're just over to the moon, probably thinking, this is wonderful, we're going to keep this going as long as we can.
I hope that they do. I mean, listen, I stacked the deck in my favor, because the very first show, I said, okay, who do I need to come out of the gate strong. I need to blow everybody away. And it was Rachel Wax, Mark Zaccaria, and Harrison Greenbaum headlined.
And you did, blow it out.
And the owners of the show said, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Let's keep going. And we've been able to keep high level of quality every single month, and the crowds are getting bigger and bigger.
Speaking of comedy, by the way, that some years ago, Steve Bergazzi and Rick Merrill and you were, when we were all at the 4F, we were sitting down and talking about that very thing, about writing comedy, because I think you had come to me, or maybe Stephen had, and said, why don't we do a podcast just with the 3 of us talking about writing? Because every Saturday night, you guys usually close the show, and so you're kind of behind the scenes, and Stephen and Rick are the ones beating up each other all the time, it seems like.
I tell them what to say, they go up there, say it, and they get in trouble because they said something offensive or insensitive.
You stick your hand up their backside. So basically, you move their mouths.
Exactly. I tell them what to say, and then they get in trouble saying it.
What is one of the best tips for comedy writing?
I think the best thing is to really understand who you are as a performer. I mean, listen, Steve and Rick are 2 of the smartest, funniest guys I absolutely know. If I can contribute to 5% of what they do on that stage, I'm proud. But the thing is, Rick is a straight man. Steve is physical comedy at its absolute greatest. And therefore, you have to sort of learn, like, what jokes do you need to write that's going to fit into each one of their styles. Because if Steve goes up there and tries to do a joke deadpanned, it's not going to land.
Yeah.
And if Rick does a joke that's a little bit more physical, I mean, maybe it'll be okay, but it's not his style.
And you can tell that he's kind of out of his element, if you will.
Exactly. So I think when you're writing jokes for yourself, I think it's really important to understand what the audience sees when they look at you. And sometimes you might have a great joke that just doesn't fit who you are. And it's hard to do, but you have to cut that.
What I also hear you saying then also is to write for somebody else. In other words, you might see yourself as a particularly funny type of guy who would be more physical or less physical or whatever, but the audience sees you differently. And if you are seeing yourself something different than what you want, in other words, you're seeing yourself as how you want to be, but you're succeeding with the audience in a different way. You need to have someone from the outside. That's why you need a director for your show, first of all, but to have someone who writes for you saying, no, that joke that you just think you said is not as funny. So it's important to not just have a director, but also have a writer for you to say, here's really who you are, and the audience accepts you as being.
At least somebody who can critique your writing in a really honest way.
Yes.
I mean, you need somebody who's going to stop and say, listen, I think that joke's funny, but I don't think it fits you.
It's you, exactly.
Or you're going to get up and say, hey, listen, every time I deliver this line, it gets a laugh. And you might have somebody who turns around and goes, I'm telling you, though, you're getting a laugh, but it's at the expense of other parts of your character, and it's probably not a good joke for you to do.
Man, good advice. That is really great. Well, I know you're soon going to be getting your mind set for this because you're just a few minutes away from your lecture, and people are starting to soon be filling up the lecture hall over here for that. So it's good seeing you. You're going to be performing then tonight or tomorrow?
Yep, I'm emceeing the show tonight. Super excited. We got a lot of great performers tonight.
Who's on?
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Some of the people?
I'm not. You have to wait and see.
So since you got here, you really haven't seen much at all as far as critiquing the rest of what you have seen.
Just a little bit. But like I said, so far, everybody I've talked to has been super impressed. These guys do a great job. Tom is phenomenal. It's so much fun. Everybody here is great.
And most conventions are that way, but this being as small as it is in the Great Smoky Mountains, it's very much a friendly family kind of a thing. And I say family, I don't see a lot of children here, but a lot of people who are friends who have been coming for decades, you know, and who just love coming, maybe just to this convention only. I noticed, for example, at other regional conventions, there are some people go to the TAOM who don't go to other conventions.
Right.
Some people you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so but this seems to be one where everybody in this general area, not even in this general area, within a 6-7 hour drive.
They drive.
This is an appointment viewing for them.
Yep. It is amazing. Well, good. Thanks very much, David. It's good talking with you again and good seeing you.
Great to see you, Scott. Thank you so much.
You bet. For the Magic Word Podcast, that was David Crisero. This is Scotty out. We have just finished the evening show, and that was the Magic, I don't know what it's called, Magic Rama or something like that was open to the public there at the Country Tonight Theater, and we'll talk about that here in a few moments. But I want to talk about somebody or a couple of guys who were in the close-up contest. Last evening, as we closed the podcast, we were talking with Ed Ripley, who is one of the chairmen for the contest, both stage and close-up. And the close-up was this morning, and they had the stage this afternoon, and really it was kind of this afternoon was an open mic kind of a thing with about 8 different competitors. But this morning we had some close-up guys. How many people were competing in close-up, by the way, Farron?
It was probably like 8.
Okay, 8 or 10? Okay.
8 to 10, yeah.
I have 2 people who are with me. By the way, I'm over at Steve Grunowski's house, who is a fellow who's got just the most incredible collection of mechanical equipment, so that's why you hear things in the background. But not only that, we're sitting now at a poker table, one of about 6 different poker tables next to the pool table, and everything else is like a 19 or 1880s, I was going to say brothel, but more like a bar, I guess. So kind of something you'd see in Colorado or someplace, about a long time ago in the Wild West. So now let me introduce you to Farron. Say hello, Farron.
Hello, Farron.
There we go. And Dragon. Hey there, Dragon.
Hi, how's it going?
And Dragon, where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay. And you then, Farron?
Same for me, but also Detroit.
All right. And so both of you guys are friends of Sarah and Keith Fields.
You got it.
And so they were sponsoring you or bringing you down, or tell me a little bit about how you got here to where we are.
Yeah. So Dragon and I both perform close-up at the Magic Soiree, which is their dinner show that they do in Troy, Michigan. And we got to know Keith first through the Detroit Magic Club, which is Ring 22 of the IBM, and we got to perform there. And it's basically they told us about this opportunity to participate in a competition, a magic competition, which neither one of us have ever. Well, actually, Dragon has performed in a competition before, but I have not.
You have competed before in other.
Yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah, in Colon, Michigan. When I was a little kid, I did competitions, but I thought of it more like talent shows sort of thing. So this is the first real competition where I actually tried and put in effort. So,
well, because we met up a lot leading up to the competition and got to see each other's acts kind of evolve over time, and got feedback from other guys from the club, from Keith as well. Met with him and with Sarah, and just got their feedback. And and it's amazing that like it's finally done. Like we finally, because just so much time and energy and thought has gone into it all. So it's funny that here we are on the other side.
Was this Dragon also? Farron, thank you. I got to ask Dragon for a minute. As far as developing your close-up routine for the competition, did you first of all know, okay, I have X number of minutes, and then kind of back into that, and then decide I'm going to do this kind of an act, or how did you design the convention contest act?
Yeah, so me personally, everything I was doing was original stuff that sort of, I figured out there's a competition, and I went, okay, I want to make stuff for this. And I kept making new stuff, and then it sort of came like, maybe a month beforehand, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a time limit. So then I had to take time into consideration. So yeah, I worked on material first, and then the time...
You started eliminating, cutting...
Yeah, cutting things down.
How did you decide what to throw out and what to keep in?
Honestly, every single time I performed it, I just sort of saw which things went together. It was a lot of just experimenting and sort of thinking in the moment. In fact, like last night, I was sort of still doing it. I was like, oh, should I keep this, do this? So the act was a little bit different the night before the competition, actually.
Were you on time? Did you keep it under? Because you get deducted points, or you sometimes get disqualified if you're over.
Yeah. I made sure to have a little stopwatch going on my table, so I know I was good with the time aspect of it.
And so when you did it, is it actually an act where there's a beginning, middle, and end, or was it just trick after unrelated trick? What kind of an act would you do?
Oh, yeah. So this whole act I had, there was a theme. It wasn't cards, it wasn't coins. We started labeling it a notebook act, because all of the effects are just in this notebook that I walk on stage with. And all the effects are like self-contained in the notebook, except for a deck of cards I use. But yeah, besides that, everything in the notebook is original. It's hard to explain all of them because they're very abstract ideas that you sort of need to see.
That was interesting and original. Farron, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my favorite close-up magic is coin magic. Dragon knows anytime we get to that time of the month for club, the Detroit Magic Club, I've always got a new coin thing I'm working on, and so I had some coin routines that I was excited about and kind of linked together with the theme of bendy pin, I called it, which is just a classic rubber pencil thing, but it was just kind of a running joke in my little act that I'm this performer, Farron, who just really seems to be enamored about that bendy pin, just really loves it, and throws in some visual coin magic along the way. So just basically picked out my few favorite coin routines and found that common thread and put some transitions in, but and just trying to find new ways to take that. Like, what can you do with a bendy pin? Like, could you maybe it's actually bendy at some point instead of the visual illusion of it if it looks bendy, or maybe you make the bendy pin huge and you have a giant one, or maybe there's a gag with my name. I have a name tag at the beginning that says Farron, and then by the end of the name tag, without anybody noticing it, has changed from Farron to Ben D. Penn, the name.
So has this inspired you then also to, both of you, to enter other contests at conventions?
I would love to enter. Honestly, having a goal to work towards has been a really good experience, because I don't know, I have a very short attention span a lot of the time, and I get attracted by the new shiny thing to work on and play around with, and it's been nice that, okay, I have this goal, and everything that I'm working on is all towards this one goal, and what I'm left with, whether I do another competition or not, and I would love to, but either way, I have a 6-minute act that I can now use all over the place.
So when's your next convention? You think you might be competing? You going to go to the IBM in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we were considering going to the IBM competition and convention, which I've never been before. In fact, this is
Heath's involved with that, obviously.
Exactly. And this is my first time even being in a convention outside of Michigan. Yeah. So even that aspect has been a lot of fun. It's like meeting new people and everything, and it's really been a lot of fun too, just getting to see other people's acts and get to talk to them about the stuff that they prepared for the competition and everything as well.
Well, how old are you? 22?
I'm 26, in fact, okay. But I look young.
You do look young. That's right. And you said you competed then, Dragon, when you were a junior, I guess, at Colin. Yeah. And so, are you about the same age also then?
Yeah. I'm only 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm 20. He's 26.
So, are you looking also at going perhaps to Atlanta, to Pittsburgh, to IBM, or some other convention here in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this was really fun. Sort of like he was saying, the time crunch and needing to create something sort of did boost my creativity. I consider myself a creative person, but I didn't really think I would be able to come up with this many original things. But I definitely think because of the time crunch you put us under and the pressure, it sort of leads your brain to create things that it normally wouldn't in like a relaxed setting.
You both have kind of put your finger on something that competitors have said. I mean, Jeff McBride and others who have competed in the past themselves, as well as teaching and training other people to compete. That's one of the things. First of all, it's camaraderie. I mean, because when you kind of get in the pit, if you will, with other competitors, you have something that's a band of brothers that you always will be friends from then on, because you were backstage kind of sweating about the same thing, waiting to see who's going to win. Second of all, and mainly what you've just said, is you have a goal. You have something that you are trying to achieve, and you've got a deadline to do it. And that's not like the normal world. It seems, well, I say normal. If you're working in the business world, you have deadlines you're going to meet for certain things, obviously. But for Magic, if you've got a show and you're going to be working for a party or working at a restaurant, well, I got to go this Thursday and work. But you're not, you're working on new things. But it's not like that you have to have an act down and you're going to be judged on this. That's going to be just a one-time or one-off kind of a thing. So it's important, I think, to have those kinds of goals, and that's what contests do for you, and it gives you life lessons, I think. Mm-hmm. So you're learning a lot then, Dragon, as a young man, and you've been as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm inspired and glad that you guys are going to go and do this again and move on, so we'll be hearing more from you.
Oh, certainly. I would love to keep working on things, keep coming up with new ideas. I mean,
what's your long-term goal?
Gosh,
not necessarily just with this. I mean, like in Magic in general. I mean,
yeah. So for me, Magic is just so much fun for me, and I did Magic for 10 years without knowing any magicians. I was just kind of doing it by myself, and really in the last 5 years, getting to go to conventions in Michigan and now Tennessee as well. I don't know. It's such a wonderful hobby for me, and I don't at this time see myself doing it in a more professional capacity, but I could see it being maybe like a side hustle kind of a thing. But that doesn't mean that I want my Magic. I want to keep
being a part-time professional. That's the thing. Gene Anderson had coined that term. So you're not really an amateur if you are making money, but a part-time professional, because when you are actually performing, you're performing as if you're a full-time professional, because you are professional. People are seeing you, perceiving you as that, and paying you for being a professional, and so you have to give a professional show. Right. So it's a part-time. It's not indicates that you're only half professional, but a full-time professional means you really are doing it and you're invested full-time in making sure they get the best show as a full-time professional would. So part-time professional is kind of a term he coined. So that's something to strive for.
Yeah.
For years I had done that as well as a part-time professional, having another outside job until I turned full-time professional. So I encourage you kind of to follow the same path.
So. I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I've been focusing on very hobby, type stuff, stuff without much of an end goal for the last couple of years, particularly with COVID when there wasn't a lot of performing going on. And so it really feels like, we're on the opposite side of COVID. Okay, now I have a goal. Now I'm actually creating something that's going to, be a contained act with a beginning, middle, and end. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but it was a fun experiment for sure.
And so, Dragon, you are the youngest of us, the three of us here.
Yeah.
And so, are you in college then right now? Are you studying?
Actually, no. Right now I'm just working. I have a job. And
are you looking at doing this on a full-time basis?
Yeah, my goal, I want to do something with Magic full-time. Right now I want it to be performing, but in the past 2 years I have been going to more conventions. Well, I've been going to my first big conventions outside of Michigan, like Magic Live, Magi Fest I went to for the first time last year, and it sort of opened my world up to different areas in Magic that I could be making a living off of.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now I would say I want performing to be my main goal. Yeah. But obviously right now I have a regular job at a restaurant that isn't my favorite thing in the world, but I have to make money somehow.
Well, it's good to kind of have something, that you're doing. And as I said, then being a part-time professional, and then once you can kind of launch into being a full-time, once you realize, hey, I can actually do this, but you have to pack your parachute before you jump off and make sure it opens.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations to both of you on jobs well done then this morning, and good luck. I guess they'll be announcing the winner tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I'm nervous. But it was already a success, honestly.
Yeah, just coming down here with Keith and Sarah, I'm sure it was great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. And so for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Farron and Dragon. This is Scotty out. Well, I mentioned earlier about how that Keith Fields was the one who had brought people down there, Farron and Dragon. And besides that, I also had alluded to this evening's show, which was amazing. That was what they call the Magic-orama or something again.
Abraca Magic-orama. It was one of those big things.
Exactly. But I got with me now my good friend and buddy, and yours too, friend of the Magic World. And he's on the board of directors of the International Brotherhood of Magicians.
Yes,
Are you?
I am.
That's right. And also aren't you in charge of the territorial vice presidents, or you were?
That's what no, I'm not in charge of them. I'm working on the marketing committee, I'm working on the TVP committee, and I'm also, the biggest project I'm on at the moment is rebuilding the IBM website.
Oh, that needs to be redone. That's a good idea to do.
And it's very exciting, some of the plans we have for it. And, watch this space.
And so that's the voice of Keith Fields. So let me introduce him. Hey there, Keith. So
hey.
Glad to see you.
What a pleasure it is to be with you again, sir.
And you too. It's been a while since we were in Michigan. I was up in Detroit when we were over at Harriet's and had a little party with Chris Philpott and everybody.
I was actually looking at a video that I took of you doing one of your dollar bill tricks.
Bill tricks, yeah.
Just earlier on today. It came up on my video.
Yep. So, how long of a drive? I mean, did you stop overnight someplace?
No.
You drove straight?
It's about 8.5, 9 hours for us, so it's not too bad. Yeah, we do. Both Sarah and I drive together, so we swapped over drivers. Keep ourselves awake.
So I want to talk a little bit about this evening's show. It was
what a flipping show!
It was amazing.
Talk about knocking it out of the park.
David was knocked out of the park. David Casero did a great job as the MC, and he wasn't just keeping things moving, but he had such great, I wouldn't say bits, he had full-blown routines in between.
Yeah, some great comedy bits as well.
Comedy bits that he brought on Steve Bargatze and Steve Bean.
Steve Bargatze was, I've seen a pratfall in my time.
Yeah.
I'm sure the term pratfall is an old term in case someone thinks it's derogative or something. But he fell off a chair. He was punched and knocked off a chair by Steve Beam, and my heart honestly missed a beat. He went down like a sack of potatoes.
He did. That was so realistic.
And it was so realistic. Talk about selling apart.
It looked like he'd been hit by...
He was sitting next to me afterwards, and I said, "Are you sure you're okay?" But yeah, I'm fine.
He looked like he'd been hit by Will Smith.
Wicked. But no, he's a monster. Steve Bargatze is a monster at playing that I'm a dumb member of the audience just sitting here part.
Yeah.
He plays it so well. I mean, the guy's a comedy genius. Wonderful. But that was just a small part of the show.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Part.
And it opened up, from the get-go, when David just opened, said, as we get started, he didn't really do anything other than introducing John Sterlini and Tamara that came out. And
as John said, he was doing the sort of talk about being the Chavez student and was doing the Chavez stuff, and it was a beautiful, flawless portrayal of that style of magic, which we don't see often enough.
It's classic.
It was, and it was perfect. I was sitting very close to the front, and the card manips, the ball manips.
Yeah.
And then ending up with the multiplying bottles.
Yeah,
Again,
always,
a classic
always
trick.
a winner. Always a winner. Yeah.
The beginning was the Chase the Ace that he was doing, kind of like Jack Goldfinger and Dove had done some years ago. Remember?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful act.
No, they did a great job opening the shows. Really
and they were
nice.
followed then. Was Guy Babley second, I think, in the.
I am absolutely blanking now. We both say looking for our programs.
But whether he was
Jay Blackwell, I don't think
that's right.
Yeah.
Because Jay Blackwell had done kind of a juggling and a geek act, I guess, if you will. The blockhead. I said not geek act so much.
Drill in the nose and that stuff, which was nice. It was again. It was very very sideshow. But it was exactly he did everything really cleanly and really nicely and really well. It was a lot of fun.
He did, yes. After that came off, actually, as I'm looking at this, actually Guy Babley had done his act to begin with, in which he was doing some impressive mind reading from people right from the get-go. Very straightforward.
The opening trick he did. I was. You know when you're a magician and you see someone doing a trick, you go, "Oh, you're doing this."
Correct. You think of the method.
Yeah, you think of the method because we know roughly what he was doing. And it was a predictor number trick. Member of the audience said, "Can you name any number between 1 and 10?" And I assumed it was a nail writer and it was going to be 6.
That's what I thought he was going to do.
And then he did this lovely gag of taking... of the fact that he didn't have one piece of paper, he had 10 pieces of paper, and he counted through them and turned one round to the 6, which was, and it was very funny. And I just thought, what a brilliant gag! And I thought to myself, if he turns round the other cards and they're all blank, this would be a really nice little trick. And well done. But I had the method all worked out in my head, but he didn't do that. He turned round the other cards and they were all 6s,
and he just
threw them up in the air and they fluttered to the ground. And it was like they were all 6s. Now I'm sure he led me up a garden path, dug a hole, and I just fell in it. But I was so fooled at that moment.
I am with you then, my friend. Keith, he was. That fooled me. I thought, okay, well, maybe there's some sort of stick 'em on there or something, but no. I mean, for there to be 10 cards.
I was going through all those things as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then with the way they just fluttered the ground, they were just single pieces of paper.
Yes. I was absolutely fried by it.
Yeah, we talked about Jay
Blackwell. Yeah,
Blackwell, who did juggling and fire eating, which was really good and classical. And then this other guy had come on. I'd forgotten his name.
Ray Adams. Now listen, folks, you've got to understand what happened here. It seemed that there was a
problem with the lighting.
Yeah, a problem with the lighting, and there was a techie guy just sort of wandered onto the back of the stage with an iPad to just adjust some of the lighting. And then all of a sudden, it turned into like a mime act of a man. He wasn't chasing the lights around, but he was pressing buttons and the wrong things were happening.
Right, it was funny.
But it was very funny.
And you had bought into the fact that he was just really part of the stage crew.
That's the thing. And it was really, how long could he keep us believing he was just part of the stage crew? And my answer to that is longer than I expected he would.
Yeah.
Because it was really, really funny. And then the lights fused, and he ended up getting a flashlight out, or a torch, as I would call it. But that's because we gave you a language. Kindly use it correctly. So we gave.
Speak American here.
Yeah, I know. Flashlight. Okay, flashlight. He had a flashlight, and he did a shadowgraphy. Is that what they call it? Shadowgraphy routine, and he did one of the nicest shadowgraphy routines.
With some music in the background and some different kinds of things than I would have typically seen.
Yeah, and he had sort of some hats on his fingers and minor puppetry included.
Yeah,
which actually
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it actually added. Michael Jackson moon dancing was hilarious, but the little extras, which were just sort of hats and they were probably just little cardboard cutouts that he stuck on the end of his finger like a thimble. Yeah. But they really added, and he did a really sort of emotional, heart-tugging ending, didn't he, with that song? I can't remember the song, but it was. One of those big duetty numbers, which everyone loves.
Oh, yes, exactly. And then the show was brought to a rousing conclusion by Aaron Raddatz, who's got a big show in Branson.
Yeah.
And he was the final illusionist. You usually open with doves and close with illusions, but we opened instead with card manipulation, which is great, and then closed with illusions.
Yeah. And it was. Aaron is. He's a bit of a legend, really, isn't he? I mean, it's. The way he moves is he's not a dancer in the way he moves. It's kind of almost ungainly, but it's kind of incredibly watchable, and there's something about him. There really is. He's just a fantastic performer.
He is. You can tell that he's had several thousands of hours performing under his belt.
Absolutely.
And a nice flow from the illusions to in front of the curtain and some other stuff they did. This Smash and Stab I thought was really good, which, he gave homage then to Scott Alexander.
Which was a wonderful moment as well, because, you can't help seeing that particular version of Smash and Stab without thinking about Scott.
That's right.
But his whole set just flowed so smooth. The whole show
well put together, well produced.
And I mean, this is down to Tom, Tom Vorchan, who books these shows. And I was talking with a couple of guys earlier. When I was booked to do this a few years back, Tom said specifically to me he wanted me to do a specific routine. I didn't particularly want to do that routine, actually, but it was the routine that they wanted because in terms of the show, that was the routine that fitted.
Yeah.
And they were right. And I think nowadays there aren't enough show organisers and convention organisers that are actually telling the performers what to do. A number of times I've been at a convention and it's been 3 or 4 performers, and it's okay. What are we doing? Who's doing what? You sort out your own running order. You sort out who's emceeing sometimes.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be a bit of thought in the production of the show.
Yeah.
So there's a good flow, a bit of logic to it, rather than just sticking.
That's a very good point. I think that conventions need to put more time, particularly when you're selling tickets to the public they did tonight, because public expects to have a professional show like they see on television or when they go to the booth. If they're buying tickets,
did they get that tonight?
They did in spades.
It was. Well, I actually heard someone say, "I've seen." No, I can't say that. I just suddenly realised I shouldn't say what I'm about to say.
You're starting to get candid here.
Yeah,
not knowing your microphone's on.
Exactly. Yeah. Someone said that this show was so good it should have been the show at various other magic conventions that I shall not mention, that are known as being very good.
And that's one of the many reasons. And this is just a Friday night show. Tomorrow is the closing show, and I know we're going to be having some amazing people on tomorrow night.
Yeah, can't wait.
Me too.
Do they know who? Have you told anyone?
I haven't, but I can tell you that Artem Shukham is one of them.
Oh wow!
He's right over there right now.
Oh yeah, we met Artem last year at the IBM convention.
Yes.
What a great guy and fantastic performer.
Everywhere he goes, he kills, and he wins first prize after first prize after first prize.
And he's over there talking to my wife, and he's talking to my wife.
Yeah.
I've got to go. He's talking to my wife. Aaron Shotman's talking to my wife. I've got to go. Nice to see you, everyone. Nice to see you, Scott. Excuse me. I'm going to be...
So for the Magic Word Podcast, that's kind of a wrap, I think, for day 2. That was Keith Fields, and we'll see you tomorrow as we start to bring you day 3. This is Scotty out.